Okay, thanks everyone for being here. This is our first daily press brief on the issue at hand, the COVID-19 response. And so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to make a quick run through on the daily update that I'm producing and sending to you media outlets and making available to the public, and then I'll go into a separate set of issues loosely related to the update, but relative to the virus issue. So for today's update, the state test results are now posted to the Department of Health website, and that shows South Dakota now being at 41 positive cases, including the one new case in Meade County. We don't have a very detailed story between yesterday and today as far as where the counties are, but it's clear from the tally on the Department of Health site that there's a few more in Minnehaha County. They're up to 13 now, same as Beadle County. Our ambulance continues to transport sick patients. They're doing screening, trying to rule out other illnesses, and frankly, I'm not aware as a layperson how you differentiate between someone with a flu or another illness and COVID-19, but the paramedics who are doing these screenings are giving me a kind of a tally each day of how many patients they transport daily that are seeing symptoms consistent with COVID-19. And it's in the single digits every day. There's no trends emerging there. It's either 3 or 5 or something of that nature. So I probably won't report on each day's tally because it's virtually all the same day to day so far. Here at City Hall, we're sorting out the work at home employee issues and getting all of that, trying to vacate this building as much as possible. We've got a number of folks out on sick leave, number of employees out with child care issues, and we're still trying to digest and implement the new federal legislation pertaining to the Family Leave Medical Act and the emergency sick leave. Every employer should be doing that because we're finding it quite complicated and difficult to understand, and it requires some interpretation, so that is an important thing to pay attention to. In other news, there was a hotel robbery last night. The RCPD will be reporting on that, and this is one more in a string of a dozen or more robberies over the last 25 or so days. And kind of relative to public safety, we're working on alternative lodging space for first responders. I think that's important because there are those who are going to have constant contact throughout the day with people who are ill, strange people. In public safety, it's unavoidable to have close personal contact with people. I watched a vehicle pursuit yesterday out my window in the mayor's office, which is over here in Memorial Park, and going across 5th Street and in the parking lots, and when they finally caught the person, there was some close physical contact between them, as you might understand. So we're looking to keep the first responders healthy and their families healthy and keep those folks able to work and give them a place to rest without putting others at risk. The city and county is now communicating regularly. We're sharing meetings and comparing notes, starting to see a lot of the same issues with employees and the general administration issues that are coming up. The county is considering an ordinance which is based somewhat on the city ordinance, and they'll have a special meeting Friday at 9 a.m. And then the city's special council meeting will be at Friday night at 6 p.m., and that's where we'll have the second reading of the emergency ordinance to close or limit certain businesses within Rapid City. So we've been receiving a number of questions from the public, dozens or perhaps hundreds by this point, And here are the most common ones. People want to know, why haven't you closed this type of business or that type of business? And it's everything from salons or auto mechanics, car lots, you name it. It's all across the board. People questioning, if you're closing bars and restaurants, then how can you not close these other things? Well, the overall scope of this first tier, and hopefully only tier, of government intervention is to force the reduction of crowd gathering, 10 people or less. With groups more than 10, the chances of contracting and multiple people contracting are greater, so that's the purpose of this ordinance. So it's not applying to one-on-one contact with people such as accountants or law firms or other things of that nature. And we're learning as we go. This is a very fast changing scenario. Another question which has come up several times is that it's not fair for my business if I have to close but the grocery stores have to get to remain open. You can close a bar and restaurant, but you're not closing grocery stores. It's not fair. It's not helping with the spread of disease, and so on. Those are concerns that people are bringing to us. Well, I think part of this answer should be obvious, that the grocery stores contain essential items for life. The food and the many pharmacies within. And there's been some suggestions that we forcefully rope off all of the other merchandise except for food to create a more level playing field. And we are focusing on the health of our communities, and it is government intervention, so it is by nature going to be clunky, and it's going to need constant adjusting in order to make it as practical, reasonable, effective, and lastly, fair as possible. These are emergency measures. Here's one that is probably the most asked question since Sunday's City Council meeting. Why are you not closing a certain type of business? People are saying, I want you to close spas, massage businesses, nail, all of this. Some of them in the business refer to it as body work. Why aren't you closing body work? It's close personal contact. It's one-on-one, but each practitioner has half a dozen or more customers a day, and the overwhelming majority, if not all of the letters and emails we're getting on this particular issue are coming from employees and owners of those types of businesses. So I think we're finding out now that there is a belief that if they close on their own, they will not be able to get Small Business Association emergency loans, or they may be missing out on some other federal assistance. And at this point, we believe that is untrue. I would recommend that a business such as this send a message either to us, and we will forward to Elevate Rapid City, or contact Elevate Rapid City, because they are quickly becoming the expert on keeping businesses alive, and they are posting on their webpage updates. They've created a Facebook page called Rapid City To Go, which is wildly popular now, and it's where business owners are convening to talk about their limited services and share ideas and so on. So every citizen has the ability to close their own business, and every employee has the ability to walk off the job as it, if it concerns them individually. So I'm going to get to this government intervention and personal responsibility bit at the tail end here. So overall, the overall assessment, and this is an opinion on my part, is that the public is just not taking this issue seriously enough. We are standing around, sitting around, waiting for this to be over sometime in the next few days, perhaps. And we're irritated that businesses are closed, and some are outwardly defying the social distance recommendations and are offering to have parties where they defy all of these things. One common comment from citizens is that government shouldn't run our lives, and I'm going to take my chances. So there's a lot of narrow-mindedness on this particular disease. You're welcome to take your chances, but you're not welcome to infect the rest of us who are trying to be safe. And you may not realize that the biggest threat in taking your own chances is your own family, the people you're most comfortable hanging around with. And so this is a very irresponsible position to take. And the city ordinance proves government is interfering in private business. City government has caused the layoff of hundreds, if not more, employees in Rapid City. The economy was already taking a turn, but the government accelerated that with its city ordinance. There's no doubt about it. We all understand that. But this has to be taken seriously. If you're going to go to a business and you see that the parking lot is full, shop somewhere else. If you're going to go to some type of business who allows people to come in and the parking lot's flooded, do your responsible part and keep space between you. The most effective thing people can do is keep space between the rest of us, yourself and the rest of us. So we have to take it seriously. With the government intervention, this is a perfect example of how government comes to a conclusion, implements some mitigation, and finds out that we should have done that a week ago. And there's no way to go back a week. So we have a week where we know we haven't acted quickly enough. And so what we have in our government bodies is a need for consensus on passing emergency measures. We have the same need in our communities. We can't spring a very restrictive law on people and not expect them to have serious objection to that. So the government intervening in your life is a serious measure, and we have some steps to go through. I do not have the authority to wave a wand, give an executive order, and close any businesses or create a law with an order. That can't be done. So under the emergency clause, we've read in the ordinance Sunday. We'll do the second reading of that Friday, and we'll make it active Friday night. That's as quickly as we can operate. But we know, based on the way the disease has progressed, we were a week late. As far as the ordinance itself goes, again, the majority of, if not all of the emails and concerns we're getting about the city ordinance are using the term essential and non-essential businesses. There was a business owner yesterday that submitted a letter building a case that her business should be designated essential. And she laid out all of the rationale for it. She included laws that have been passed, emergency laws passed in other states that gave businesses like hers essential status. And I could show you at any time the number of email subject lines that I have in my inbox that say essential business, non-essential business. The Rapid City Ordinance passed on Sunday does not use the terminology essential or non-essential business. It is very specific about which types of businesses are to be regulated. And I just feel like not many folks have read the ordinance. There is a link to this ordinance at the top of our COVID-19 update page on our city website. So you can go to rcgov.org/COVID, and you can find that ordinance and read it and understand fully what the intent and scope of that ordinance is. There's clear evidence from me, to me, it's clear evidence to me, to the team that we're working with, to our medical providers, to other states, other jurisdictions, clear evidence that this is the time to take action on a personal, an organizational, and a governmental level. But who do you want to take the action? That's my question for the public today. Whose action should it be? Are you going to take the action yourself, or are you going to wait for government to come along and solve this? Government does not do well solving issues like this in America. If we're in China or some other country and we want a lockdown, we can use military force and deadly force if we choose and get the point across. China doesn't fly a flag that means freedom to all of them. We do. So when we direct people to stop acting in a certain way or start acting in a new way, that goes through their filter of freedom and justice and liberty, and it's hard to get that taken seriously. And I think that's what we're up against here. We're up against a virus, but we're also up against the human behavior that's going to make mitigating and controlling the spread and the timeline of that virus. Human behavior will end up being the thing that pushes us to the out of control, where we're not doing a great job mitigating this as a community or as a nation. So you should decide if you want to take that action yourself, or if you want to push a reactive government machine into protective mode to start regulating more and more and more. I already know what the answer to that is. About half of you want the government to do it, and about the other half of you want to do it. And some of you want to do it on your own timeline. I'm just saying this is time to get on the same page. Here are the recommendations that we're going to start pushing out with marketing and try to get out there as much as possible. We've been saying the same things over and over. Stay away from people. Stay away from people. Put 6 feet between you and any other human being who you don't regularly spend close time with at home. Just put those 6 feet. These chairs out here in this room are placed 6 feet apart. Do not shake hands with people. That is a habit that has been ingrained since when we were little boys and girls. And I was out in public last night. Someone approached me with their hand out, wanting to shake hands. It's hard to break that habit. We've got to get over the social awkwardness of refusing a handshake or sticking an elbow out in place of it. We have to. Do not attend events or businesses where there are more than 10 people. Do not go. If you open the door and it's got 10 or more people in there, turn around and leave. Do your part. This has to be taken seriously. It has to. We're going to come out of this. There's no doubt about it. Everybody giving a speech at a podium has the same basic outline of a message. We're going to get through this. We need to stick together. All those things are true. But the difference between life and death in our communities will be centered on, do we peak with our caseload of diseases in our communities in a week, in 3 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 2 months? Because if we peak quickly, we're going to overrun the hospital systems, who will be unable to treat not only the people with COVID-19, but the people who are having cancer treatments and strokes and heart attacks and aneurysms and all types of other diseases. There are only so many beds and so many service providers. They cannot do it all. So this is why this is a community issue. We're going to see a large portion of the community up close and personal with COVID-19. It's either going to be you or a family member or your best friend or someone of that nature. It will happen. The question is, can we handle the load? Can we handle the treatment for those up to 20% who will need more advanced medical intervention than staying at home with the TV. So this is important. Any questions from the media in the room?
We had some confirmed case at Monument Hospital. Monument officials are now telling us that there are potentially 100 high-risk patients that could have been exposed to COVID-19. That's new information that came out today. Again, just for those who are watching and those who are reading what we are. What is your response to the public about now this appears to be exponentially larger than what we previously thought?
The question was about the Monument employee who has tested positive for COVID-19 and has been in contact with as many as 100 high-risk individuals. This is the same type of story we'll be hearing every single day if we don't start getting a handle on this. That's a very unfortunate but a very predictable scenario. It's not time to go on vacation. It's not time to even go across the state line. It's time to get in your bubble, take care of you and yours, and just write these things on your door every day when you leave to stay 6 feet away from human beings. And wash your hands. The same thing you tell your 2-year-olds when you're trying to teach them good habits. Wash your hands often. Use hand sanitizer when you get out of this room. The media in here today has touched a door handle or a piece of equipment that could have been touched by other people. We don't need to freak out about this, but we need to take it seriously. Get in the habit of, you just left a public place, use that sanitizer before you touch your face or touch a bunch of things in your car. Just be responsible for yourself. And if we're all doing it, we could come out of this okay.
Press release that you sent watching for first responders?
Yeah, we are getting cooperation from hotels. Of course, the hotel industry is suffering right now and has lots of rooms available. So we're getting offers from hotels to house first responders. And we don't have details worked out yet, but there's a good willingness to put up first responders so they won't be going home. They'll be able to self-quarantine. Our police officers, firefighters, paramedics are coming in contact with human beings every day. It's unavoidable. Some of them very close and personal contact. I don't think it's entirely reasonable to use a whole bunch of personal protective equipment for every single public safety worker in the nation. Those supplies are going to be needed by medical providers, so we use them as needed, which is what it is. It's a risk being in public safety right now, even more than normal. So we're taking those precautions, but it's our intent to guarantee certain city and county services, and those are public safety, sewer, water, and garbage. Those services have to be run throughout the duration of this. There has to be cross-training in those areas. We have to have protective measures and equipment to protect those employees so that we don't have any threat to those public health systems. Oh, definitely there's public safety employees that are self-quarantined at this moment, and has been probably for the last week on and off. Typically the people they have come into contact with get tested, and when the test result is back, and it's always been negative so far, then the self-quarantine is lifted on that employee. But this is the new reality. Well, there is a bit of scaling back in some lesser priority areas. We have converted many of our specialty units in law enforcement to be back on patrol and to be focusing on the main mission. They're definitely urging online reporting for property crimes, nonviolent crimes, where you've had something stolen from your house or out of your car. You can find all those resources on the Rapid City Police web page. And also, many crime reports can be filed over the telephone. So the dispatchers will be screening those to try to find out how many of those can be sent to people, officers working in the building, or ultimately those working in the field. So when you see a police officer or sheriff's deputy talking on the cell phone, I guarantee they're talking to the reporting party and getting that business done out there in their car. So taking a lot of unusual efforts to free up the public safety officials to the greatest extent possible.
You said that the ordinance will go into effect until Friday. I know you said that the ordinance is online for us to all view as well. Do you just want to explain a little bit about when this could possibly be lifted? How long is it?
The question is, can I predict when the city ordinance may be lifted? And the answer is no. That's the short answer. Because I'll tell you this, for the past couple of weeks, we have learned more every single day than we ever thought possible the day before. It is the most rapidly changing scenario I've been involved with. And so when we get to a point where it looks like the disease has peaked in our community and we are seeing more and more recovered cases, and there's some reason, I could see that this could be lifted in its entirety or modified. In fact, the city ordinance will be read into the record for the second reading Sunday night, and it will become effective. However, behind the scenes, we're preparing an ordinance revision in case there are things that need to be changed within that ordinance. We've seen some communities, and one at least in South Dakota, that has adopted the ordinance and put in the ordinance that additions or deletions or changes to the ordinance can be made through resolution by the city council, which would allow changes to that ordinance to be made with one reading and one city council or county commission vote. So we don't want to alarm everyone here. We're not planning on a citywide shutdown or quarantine. There's good evidence that forced quarantines don't work, that the success in mitigating this disease will be by the behavior chosen by each individual. Life's full of challenges. The question was about what are we going to do about the snowbirds and the tourists? Well, I would hope at this stage that everyone is not creating new plans to travel anywhere in the nation until we know more what's going on with this, until we have assurance from the CDC and the other professionals that this is a good time to do it. So the snowbirds, those folks live here. And we would ask them if they came from an area that is infected at a greater rate than our area is, that they would self-quarantine. Again, this is self-regulation that's going to be vitally important. Of course, when they get back here to their summer home, they're going to need groceries. They're going to need supplies that they haven't been getting for that home for some time. So those things are difficult to navigate. Any other questions or comments? Well, thanks for being here, and to the public, thanks for checking in again. Let us know with some feedback how the information is flowing, and we'll be back here tomorrow. Thanks.